Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Now I have to come clean about something. Our haunt has a lot of extension cords. With every new technique or device that I add to it, it always seems to come with a requirement of more power. But thanks to this video's sponsor, I'm going to cut down on a huge chunk of that. But before we can do that, we better get the haunt set up. So let's get to it.
The first thing I always bring out are the columns. They weigh the most, but are also the brains of the whole operation. So it's important that they're in place and ready to keep out trespassers who want to visit the cemetery after hours. Once those are in place, I get to bringing out all of the tombstones and monuments. They're placed roughly where I want them, but won't be set into their final position until a bit later. Next up is the Hallowed Haunting Grounds tombstone and fence, which always takes me a minute to figure out which pieces go where. Then it's time for the gates, and of course, a lock. Now we can talk lighting. Ustellar, the sponsor of this week's video, sent me this 6-pack of RGB LED lights that can be individually controlled by their smartphone app. But what really caught my eye is that they're all connected. So I don't need to run 6 extension cords, which, when you don't have a lawn to hide all of your cables, is an absolute godsend. The lights are roughly 5.5 by 4 3/4 by 1 1/4 inch, so they're small, but the amount of light that they put out is more than enough for our haunt. Plus the cord between the lights is 10 feet. They have an all-metal housing and are able to withstand whatever kinds of weather you may have during haunt season. So goodbye to the rat's nest of extension cords that used to power all of our floodlights. Let's get to setting these up. With all the lights in place, and a consultation from Mrs. Van Oaks on the location of tombstones, it's time to get to securing them in place with a mallet and some rebar. I made a video on this process, and I'll leave a link to it in the video description if you want to check it out. Off camera, I ran a single extension cord to the lights and powered them up as the sun started to set. The lights have a nice diffusion panel to keep them from hot spotting, which is nice, but I'll have to wait until dark to really see how they work. With the sun finally down, I'm happy to report that these lights work just as expected. The color saturation is good, and the app controls are responsive and were pretty straightforward once I got the hang of things. More than anything, the fact that it took me under 5 minutes to get these set up makes them well worth it. It was at this point that I called it a night, but there was still a bit of setup to finish, mainly the addition of our candles. So the following day I ran all the cords for those, and the added motivated lighting that's on a flicker module to help sell the effect. There's still a few other odds and ends, but at this point, it's just a lot of tinkering to get everything looking just how we like. But I won't subject you to that. So for now, I'm calling this good.
Now our haunt lighting situation is always changing, but I will say that the addition of these new 6-pack of lights cut down not only on the time spent running extension cords, but also saved me the trouble of having to set up individual spotlights for each one of the tombstones, which in turn saved me the trouble of putting it all away once haunt season was over. Thanks to this week's video sponsor Ustellar for sending me these floodlights, and I'll leave a link down in the video description if you'd like to check them out for yourself. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.